What if I told you AI, AI, chatbots, ChatGPT, all of these AI type products, they're better at debating than you, me, or maybe even anyone. And I'm not just talking about facts, I'm talking about changing people's minds in real arguments. Scary, right? Kinda powerful? Definitely. Chatbots are more persuasive in online debates than people, especially when they are able to personalize their arguments using information about their opponent. The finding published in Nature Human Behaviour on the 19th of May, it highlights how large language models could be used to influence people's opinions, and this, for example, is especially important in places like political campaigns or targeted advertising. Now, obviously, as soon as people see that you can persuade people more with LLMs, they're going to start using them, says the study co-author Francesco Salvi, a computational scientist at the Swiss Federal Technology Institute of Lausanne. I find it both fascinating and terrifying, he says. Yeah, well, me too. We would be terrifying, right? So, research has already shown that AI chatbots can make people change their minds even about conspiracy theories, but it hasn't been clear how persuasive they are in comparison to humans. So, Salvi and his colleagues pitted 900 people in the United States against each other, another person, or OpenAI's GPT-4 LLM for 10-minute online debates. The idea was that two opponents would take either a pro or con stand as dictated by the researchers on a social or political issue, such as whether students should have to wear school uniforms, whether fossil fuels should be banned, or whether AI is good for society. Before they started the study, participants filled in a survey about their age, gender, ethnicity, educational level, employment status, and political affiliation. Then before and after each specific debate, they completed a short quiz on how much they agreed with their debate proposition. This allowed the researchers to measure whether their views had changed. The results showed that when neither debater, human or AI, had access to background information on their opponent, GPT-4 was about the same as the human opponent in terms of persuasiveness. But if the basic demographic information from the initial surveys was given to opponents prior to the debate, GPT-4 out-argued humans 64% of the time. Now, when providing with even just this very minimal information, GPT-4 was significantly more persuasive than humans, says Salvi. It was quite simple stuff that normally can also be found online in social media profiles. Participants also correctly guessed whether they had been debating with the AI or a real person in 3/4 of cases. It's unclear whether knowing they were talking to an LLM made people more likely to change their mind or whether they were swayed by the arguments alone. Experts say the results are concerning, not least as it has potential implications for election integrity. Francesco Salvi, he says, if persuasive AI can be deployed at scale, you can imagine armies of bots micro-targeting undecided voters, subtly nudging them with tailored political narratives that feel authentic. He added that such influence was hard to trace, even harder to regulate, and nearly impossible to debunk in real time. And that really is concerning, because if you're a fraudster or someone with sort of nefarious motives, it's really going to be hard to track you, trace you, and actually hold you accountable for the things you're doing. He went on to add, I would be surprised if malicious actors hadn't already started to use these tools to their advantage to spread misinformation and unfair propaganda. Now, he did note that there are also potential benefits. Thank God, finally, we get to some good things about this AI being really persuasive and being good at winning arguments. He says from these potential benefits could range from reducing conspiracy beliefs and political polarization to helping people adopt healthier lifestyles. Now, going back to that those tests that I mentioned earlier, where the human beings were pitted against the AI. In some cases, the AI didn't know anything about the humans, and in other cases, the AI knew a little bit about them. I don't know, let's say things like their age, political background, that type of thing. The AI was a lot more persuasive. Now, as it had access to such information, when AI did have access to such information about the humans, minimal information by the way, it was more persuasive. Like I said, 64% more persuasive. It shifted participant views to a greater degree than a human opponent could shift AI. Now, digging deeper in that sense, the team found persuasiveness of AI was only clear in the case of topics that did not elicit strong views. Now that's kind of key there. That kind of says, well, if you're a human being and you've got a really, really strong viewpoint, you're pretty much dogmatic and you're less likely to be shifted in terms of what you believe. And you just got to look around society and believe that is true. You can see that's pretty much true. It's really, really hard to shift someone's opinion, especially just based on logic alone. A lot of times you have to move the emotional side of the belief as well. But I was actually kind of relieved there to see that AI couldn't persuade them in those instances. So there is some hope, at least. Like, human beings are stubborn when it comes to listening to other human beings and even AI. But anyway, the researchers added that human participants correctly guessed their opponent's identity in about 3 out of 4 cases when paired with AI. They also found that AI used a more analytical and structured style than human participants. While not everyone would be arguing the viewpoint they agree with, but the team cautioned that these factors did not explain the persuasiveness of AI. Instead, the effect seemed to come from AI's ability to adapt its arguments to individuals. And that's a key point there. Quite interesting. So Salvi says, it's like debating someone who doesn't just make good points. They make your kind of good points by knowing exactly how to push your buttons. So noting the strength of the effect could be even greater if more detailed personal information was available. Remember, these AIs were given minimal information about the individuals. So they just inferred someone's social media activity list. So Professor Sander van der Linden, a social psychologist at the University of Cambridge, the person who wasn't involved in the work, said the research reopened the discussion of potential mass manipulation of public opinion using personalized LLMs conversations. He noted some research, including his own, has suggested the persuasiveness of large language models was down to their use of analytical reasoning and evidence, while another study did not find personal information increase ChatGPT's persuasiveness. So that's quite interesting there. So I guess another study didn't have the findings that this initial study that I mentioned had, but for the most part it seems to be what is the case. Professor Michael Woolrich, an AI researcher at the University of Oxford, said while there could be positive applications of such systems, for example as a health chatbot, there were many more disturbing ones. Sorry, I just got cut in there. There you go. It's always the most negative things that comes first. And I think because the negative use of these products and just AI in general, it has such a huge impact. The negative kind of always outweighs the positive in a lot of ways because so much damage can be done. But that aside, he said, including radicalization of teenagers by terrorist groups, with such applications already possible. He then said, as AI develops, we're going to see an even larger range of possible abuses of the technology. Lawmakers and regulators need to be proactive to ensure they stay ahead of these abuses and aren't playing an endless game of catch-up. Well, I mean, that's always the case. With AI, this seems to be a recurring theme over and over again. We need government, regulators, companies, just to safeguard a lot of things here and just to make sure it's not used for nefarious purposes, and especially on a mass scale. Okay, so just to summarize everything, basically a study occurred in Switzerland. Hundreds of participants took place in online debates. Some debated with humans, others went up against GPT-4, the AI language model. When both sides had no info on each other, GPT-4 was about as persuasive as a human, but when they gave the AI just personal info like age, gender, political views, it beat humans 64% of the time. And the magic isn't in yelling louder, it's knowing what makes you tick. The AI tailored its arguments based on who it was talking to. It didn't just make smart points, it made your kind of points. Now imagine debating someone who knows exactly how to push your buttons. That's what we're talking about. Naturally, it raises big questions. Could this tech be used for good, like help people adopt healthier habits or even reduce political polarizations? Sure. But the dark side is, what if someone uses it to target voters with fake news or to radicalize people online? Researchers are saying this tech could be used to micro-target people at scale, nudging opinions in a way that feels super real, but is AI generated. And worse, it's hard to trace, hard to regulate, and almost impossible to fact check in real time. Experts say regulation needs to catch up fast. Right now, we're watching AI level up its persuasive powers with barely any guardrails. If this tech is already out here shifting opinions with a few lines of code, what happens when it's in the hands of wrong people? So, what do you think? Should persuasive AI be regulated? My opinion is yes. Should it be used in politics? Or is this just the next step in how we communicate? Tell me what you think. Write it in the comment section. I'm eager to read it and know your thoughts. Till next time.